Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood Entrepreneur Podcast. In this podcast, it's going to be mainly me, Anthony Marshall, of course, as your host. I was the host of my previous podcast, The Royal Hub. I'm still going to have that going on, of course. But in this first episode, we're just going to be mainly just me as the host. Every once in a while, I might have like a guest. But let's go ahead and jump into what this podcast is mainly going to be about. So what is the Friendly Neighborhood Podcast? Okay, I had an intro trailer maybe before you listen to this, but there was so much stuff that I kind of left out because I wanted to make it short. But really in this podcast, it's just going to be me as Anthony, trying to be as natural as myself as I can be as the entrepreneur. Just think of it in a sense of like, oh, you have a neighbor who's very friendly, but he just happens to be an entrepreneur. And that's it. That's mainly what this podcast is going to be. It's just me being your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur. Kind of sounds like Spider-Man, but I love Spider-Man. Why not just switch up some of the words and create it for myself? I don't know. It's whatever. Just something that I like to work with. So as we try to continue on this podcast, we're going to be trying to discuss a lot of things that are mainly in the what is my hobbies and stuff. Like I like to do a lot of different things. So I just want to try to create this one as like my hobbyist type of podcast. But at the same time, I want to try to help out other people who are like creators or entrepreneurs themselves. I feel like in the creative field, everyone needs some type of help or boost. Because whenever you're starting out on trying to create something of your own, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to create something for one. But if you're trying to create something for yourself, it can be pretty difficult trying to do these things because of the fact that, you are just starting out. You have like a blank slate and it can be very daunting at times. So why not have someone to help you out? So that's where this podcast is also going to come in. Not only is it going to be like my hobby podcast, but it's also going to be something trying to help out others to be able to create something of their own and move forward. I also want to try to tackle on a lot of news that has to do with like good stuff, try to spread good news to everybody. Why would I was going to say grid? Whatever. Good news. I want to try to spread the good news to everybody. Try to be a little bit more positive than our last podcast. Of course, we try to be positive on the Royal Hub, like I stated in the trailer and all that. But really here, I just want to be like the main focus of when it comes to like some of the good news and stuff. And of course, we may talk about some of that with like the main podcast, which is the Royal Hub. Every once in a while, we might try to come together and talk about these subjects. But right now, I just want to create like a separate podcast for myself about some things that I picked up and I enjoy and things that I think are very interesting that everyone else should listen to. And, it's good to be able to like talk about some news that relates to like probably tech or like, regular type of news that's going on with the world, not like political stuff. I like to stay away from political things. The political stuff I usually save for the Royal Hub podcast because that's something we can all talk to. And it's 3 different perspectives. But for me, I just want to tackle on like the news that's just straightforward and has like some type of positive output out of it. I don't want to try to jump into something that sounds very negative and all that. So really, I just got a couple of news to start out this podcast with. So why not just jump right into it? So the first thing we got going on right now is the chip shortage. There's been a lot of chip shortage for like technology wise throughout the whole entire world right now. If you are in any type of industry, it can be the phone industry or the car industry, or maybe like the electronics or anything that has to do with computers and the main brain or the motherboard and all that. A lot of tech people will understand this. Normal people probably be like, okay, I don't know what any of that is, but really it's causing a lot of problems. That's all you got to say. Causing a lot of problems. But I don't want to try to say like, oh, this is some bad news or something. But like, it's interesting news to actually talk about because it's kind of relating to the business side of things. Now, but first, let me just go ahead and talk about what's causing this shortage. Now, this is coming from the New York Times. I will put like link descriptions down below, or if you're watching this on a video, then I will have like several little screenshots and stuff for you to see. But here's something for you to just go back and read for yourself. Is that what is causing the chip shortage? Well, right now it says that the current chip shortage is a result of a perfect storm of factors, including pandemic-related work stoppage, increased demand, and broken transportation logistics. We've also learned that a drought in Taiwan could accelerate this, and this could cause a huge impact in different tech segments in different ways, but often produces delays in getting gear into your hands. Last year, many industries experienced manufacturer declines or complete halts in production as a result of the pandemic. The handful of plants that make silicon semi-condition or conductor chips were no exception. However, as safety protocols for workers were put in place and outbreaks were contained, most plants got back up and running to their original output levels within a few months. That still left a backlog of orders that needed to be done and filled through. Now, that's just like one small piece I just want to talk about because, really, that's the basic detail right there as to why we're having the chip shortage that's going on in our country. Not even just our country, like in the whole entire world, because recently I've been trying to build me a PC for myself to a much powerful one, because right now I'm still rocking my laptop and trying to do everything on my laptop. It's a good laptop. It's a MacBook Pro, but really it's not really getting all the work that I want done. I want to try to get me a PC and build that up and try to make it as powerful as I can so I can be able to do so much of my work at a much better, easier and faster pace, because, for many years I've been using this thing and it's been helpful, but, it takes up a lot of my time whenever I'm trying to do anything in general. So that's why I'm like, okay, well, let's try to get something to figure this out. And it just so happens right around the time when I'm thinking I need to do this, we've been having chip shortage. And, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I totally understand. It is what it is. But I do want to try to throw this out here because I also work for Ford Motor Company. And Ford Motor Company, they've been having a lot of chip shortage issues. So that's also causing them to have a delay in their production for their trucks and their cars being made right now. There's been lots of layoff or shutdowns for time beings right now. I think it's like a kind of a bit of a deal to think about because, this has just been going on for quite some time. But, just like this report says, things are starting to get back to normal. The only thing that is kind of in the way right now is that the demand is like really high. It's skyrocket high. Like I know for a fact that the demand is really high because like even orders for like F4, there have been extremely high, or maybe even just trying to have the demand for like phones or computer components or like anything electronical. Like my brother, he works at LG and they're having some production issues over there. And those are just appliances within your house. So really, you can already tell that this chip issue has a very high demand and they're having lots of problems. But the good thing is that sometime in this summer, they should be getting back to normal. That's what many reports I've been getting it from. I think even inside of here, it says that we should be able to get a much better production of everything coming in through. Yeah, like when you start scrolling down towards like what is all getting affected and stuff, it has like a whole list of everything that's getting affected. But it's basically saying here that sometime in like the beginning of summer or so, it should be going back to normal. So I'm really looking forward to trying to, get these things resolved, figured out so that we can be able to go back to normal as far as chip shortage and all that, because I really want a stronger computer so I can do my work. But, also everyone else wants to try to get back to work without having to, worry about, oh, am I working this week or not? So for those senses of everyone else who's like working in the industry right there, don't worry, just hold on a little bit longer. It'll be able to get done. and we'll have these chips soon. And also for everyone else who's wanting these techs, I mean, this is pretty much anything that has to deal with electronics, anything in electronics. If there's been like a short stock of pretty much all these things, I know like a lot of people have been talking about like the PS5 and the Xbox and all that. Those are also considered in there. You know, it's pretty much everything that you can think of that deals with a computer. And that everything that's electrical has computers in it, for one. That is going to be what's going to be having the shortage and all that. So just hold out a little bit longer, then you'll be able to get those. So that's the good side on that one. The next thing is 12 to 15-year-olds, whenever they get the vaccine, they are going to be 100% effective, which means they're going to be protected no matter what. And you don't have to worry about too much for them. Now, this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. This is going to be a couple days late because I usually like to record these on Fridays and these episodes comes out on Saturdays. But from the Wall Street Journal, it says right here that the COVID-19 vaccine from Pfizer Inc. or Bionic Tech, I don't know. The way they have it worded, I'll have, of course, the screenshot for the videos, or even like a link in the description for you all to look at. But it's saying that safety protection between children of the age of 12 and 15 have results likely to lead to inoculations within the age group before this summer. The vaccine was 100% effective in protecting against symptomatic disease in a study of more than 2,200 children. The company said that Wednesday researchers also didn't find any safety concerns. The findings through expected were much anticipated by parents, health authorities, and school officials. They have been waiting for signs of when vaccines that adults have been getting could also be made available for children. Like other authorized vaccines, this shot yet has been cleared for use in adolescents under 16 of age. Health experts say that children will need to be vaccinated for a population to move past pandemic restrictions like maskings and physical distancing. That's a new one. So yeah, that goes on and on, just talking about how children, for the longest time, they haven't had anything to protect them as much besides just social distancing and all that. I've been hearing from a lot of my friends who are teachers. They've been saying that school has been like very ambivalent. Like it's just been on and off about having children in class and having children out of class and doing online classes. There's just been so much things just going back and forth all the time when it came to trying to get these kids in school so they can learn, because you can't go on for far too long without these children to have any type of education. It's very dangerous because, it throws off the flow of so many things. But I think that once everyone is able to get their shots in and, keep on moving forward, a lot of these issues can be resolved and we can get back to normal. And funny enough, there's another article that came out today, actually, which is very, very interesting. This is in the sense of like Friday. So pretty much yesterday, whenever you're seeing or watching this. So as of April 2nd, 2021, the CDC has put out, and I will have like a link to the CDC so you can be able to see this for yourself, that anyone who is fully vaccinated is able to travel freely. So let's go ahead and go through some of the details right here. So it says right here, fully vaccinated travelers are less likely to get and spread COVID-19. People who are fully vaccinated with an FDA authorized vaccine can travel safely within the United States. Fully vaccinated travelers do not need to get tested before or after travel unless their destination requires it. Fully vaccinated travelers do not need to self-quarantine. Fully vaccinated travelers should still follow CDC recommendations for traveling safely, including wearing a mask over your nose and mouth, 6 feet from others and avoid crowds, and wash your hands as often using hand sanitizer. or anything else. So I just find that very interesting that they're just like now saying, okay, everyone who's been vaccinated with both their shots, you are free to travel. Just make sure you still continue to follow guidelines. Now, when I really think about it, I feel like there's a lot of people who've already have done this even before the vaccines have been like, out and everyone's able to get them. I still think that so many people have been following these guidelines even before they decided to say, hey, you're fine with it. But, I just find it interesting that now that the CDC is like saying like, okay, everybody, I know you're wanting to travel or you got things you got to do and all that. Let's just go ahead and say this, that you are free to do so whenever you're fully vaccinated. And that's pretty a good thing in my eyes right there, because, for me, I was actually wanting to try to do some traveling at some point, not only just because like, leisure points and all that for fun and all that, but really just for business sakes too. Like I've also had several people out of the states, or not even outside of the state, outside of my state, who's been wanting me to come and like do business with them, and also even job opportunities and all that requires me to do some travels and stuff. So hearing something like that kind of really helps out a whole lot, because, I have that opportunity to be able to be, okay, well, I got all my vaccines taken. I got my first one earlier today. It's been several hours now since I do want to say my arm does kind of hurt, but I kind of took a nap on it. So that's kind of my fault on there. But as I'm waiting for like my second vaccine, which I get later this month, it's actually kind of a good thing to hear about, because this summer I was like, okay, I want to try to be able to go out and do a little bit more things. And I also want to try to, take advantage of some of these opportunities that I have. They're just happening to be out of state. So that's pretty much all in that sense, though. And it's a good thing to hear that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that whole entire segment about me just talking about news in general, like, some of the good news that I've gotten from a lot of these recent things that's been going on. And that's kind of like going to be the first type of take of how I'm doing this. For one, I do want to also bring up the idea that some of the structure that I do this podcast might be similar in a way. I want to try to have it organized in a way kind of like the Road Hub has it. Like, I'll have my intro and the news, and then I'll have like the main topic. And of course, maybe later I might throw in like something else. But really, I want to change it up a lot more different. I don't want to have it exactly the same, but I do want to have the structure of it kind of similar in a way, so that it can be easier for me to keep it all organized, and also for like all my listeners out there, so they can get a good idea of what it is I'm going to be talking about. So for this last part, I like to pretty much call it like the main topic or something, is like, what is this podcast going to be, doing? Like, well, I'm going to be pretty much using this podcast, like I said earlier, for something to help out entrepreneurs and creators on how to start up their own type of business, or if they wanted to start maybe something in music, or probably in photography or video production, so on and so on. If you got like something in mind that you want to do that's creative, then yeah, I want to have this podcast in some type of way to help you out. So really, I just want to say a few things. And that is that I have this podcast, and not only just the podcast, but I also am going to set up my personal YouTube channel that I've been having for many years right now. I kind of just been sitting on it for quite some time. I wanted to put out some new videos and stuff out there, but my YouTube channel is going to be having lots of things that can potentially help and support people. Like, I'm going to put out things that are also helping many creators or entrepreneurs. Right now, I'm debating if I'd rather put my dividend videos on there. Recently, I've put out like some type of file or something for everybody who's been asking me how to invest in dividends. How do they do it? How do they get started and stuff. So I created like a video series plus a PowerPoint to help out everybody on how can you get yourself into doing dividends. So maybe I can be able to put those videos onto YouTube as well, and just have it widely available for everybody. So I'm still debating on that one, trying to figure that out. But I do have like a whole entire like list of other type of things that I'm going to be putting on there. So if you're interested on trying to create something for yourself, or you're trying to be an entrepreneur, or you just want to know the story about me being an entrepreneur and all that, or if you're just interested in like some of my hobbies and stuff, then go ahead and go check out my YouTube channel. It's just going to be my name, Anthony Marshall. I probably put like a link in the description so you can go and check that out. If you're watching this, of course, then you're probably already there. So other than that, like, I hope you all have enjoyed this podcast episode. I think right now I want to recommend some books because I want to be able to do that as well. So this month's books are going to be 2 books that I'm currently reading. I will want to have one book that I am just fictionally reading for just pure enjoyment. And that's going to be a throwback to one of my favorites back in the day. And that's The City of Ember. I probably might put like an image of the book somewhere in the video. Same thing with the second book as well. But The City of Ember used to be one of my old time favorites when I was a kid. I used to read that book all the time. And, you know, I love the story of it. I'm pretty sure there's like 4 books in the total in the series. I only got the first 2. I read all 4 of them back in the day, but I personally only got the first 2. And I just wanted to go back and read it again because it was an interesting story for me to read. Plus, like, you know, if you're one of those type of people who gets inspired in reading something, I definitely think that could be one book that can help you out to inspire you to create something. So there's my fictional book. Now for like my self-help book. A lot of people like to usually call these self-help books. Whatever, I guess. But my self-help book for this month is going to be Think and Grow Rich. It's a great book right there. Like I said, I'll put like an image up for so many people to see it if you're watching the video. But for my podcast listeners out there, it's pretty much like a book that's just kind of giving you the mindset of like how it is to grow into that rich mindset. You know, not that I'm trying to be rich or anything, but it's going to help me out on thinking, okay, like what are some things that the rich people are doing? Or what is it that I should be doing with my money? What should I do to pretty much prepare myself for the future? And that's pretty much where that book is going to be talking about. So for the month of April, I'm going to be reading those 2 books. That's The City of Ember and Think and Grow Rich. Those 2 books are great books right there. I haven't actually read Think and Grow Rich. I've heard lots of recommendations for it. And of course, City of Ember is just something I want to get back to. And, you know, every month, I think I want to try to do something like that. It's pretty much to give details as to what book I am reading for the month. And maybe most of you can go and check it out for yourself. And yeah, I just think that could be a good way for my end for the podcast for me speaking. I have like another thing that I probably might do at the end of this podcast. You'll probably hear it for yourself whenever you get there. So there's a little treat I might add. But other than that, hope you all enjoyed this first episode of the Friendly Neighborhood Entrepreneur Podcast. I got to get used to saying that now. I almost said the Royal Hub Podcast because I'm used to saying that all the time. But the Royal Hub Podcast will continue. Me and the boys are still discussing more details on that one. Right now, just enjoy this episode of the Friendly Neighborhood Entrepreneur. I hope you all have a nice day, and I'll see y'all next week.